Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a blueprint for pulling off some truly monumental goals. It's all based on the core ideas from Patrick Bet-David's book, Doing the Impossible.
Just think back for a second. Remember when you were a kid? Someone asks what you want to be when you grow up, and you just blurt it out. An astronaut, the president, a movie star. You didn't think about the odds or what people would say. Your imagination just ran wild. So what happened to that person? Well, the core message of this book is that you can get that back. That power is still inside you. The same creativity that turned a pile of pillows into an impenetrable fortress is exactly what you need to build the life you actually want.
So where do you even start? Well, step one is simply daring to even think about an impossible goal. This first section is all about getting into that visionary mindset.
Just look at this list. It kind of reframes the whole idea of impossible, doesn't it? A little over a century ago, the idea of human flight was a total fantasy. Or take the 4-minute mile. That was seen as a hard physical limit of the human body, until Roger Bannister shattered it in 1954. And you know what happened then? Once he showed it could be done, a bunch of other runners did it too. Impossible is often just a temporary label for something we haven't figured out. Yet.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The author makes a huge point here. The only way you are guaranteed to fail is if you refuse to even try. The first step isn't about having a perfect plan. It's just about finding the courage to take the first step.
Okay, so you've dared to dream big. Now the real work begins. But here's the twist. It doesn't start with what you do. It starts with who you are.
Now this is a huge idea in the book. Most of us think that if we can just change our circumstances, get more money, a better job, then our identity will change. The book argues it's the complete opposite. You have to change your identity first, from the inside out, and then your outer world is literally forced to catch up.
And this story from the book just nails the point home perfectly. You've got John, whose identity is set at a $30,000 a year level. He gets a huge windfall, but what happens? He subconsciously finds a way to get right back to his baseline. Then you have Melissa. Her identity is that of a $200,000 a year earner. When she gets a major setback, her internal belief system kicks into overdrive until she gets back to her baseline. The insight here is massive. Your life will rarely, if ever, outgrow your identity.
You know, Churchill said it best. If you want to build an empire out there in the world, you have to build one in your mind first. So how do you do that? It's all about controlling your inputs.
You've probably heard this one before, and there's a good reason it's so famous. The people you surround yourself with, your circle, your associations, are one of the most powerful forces shaping who you become. For better or for worse, you are absorbing their habits, their beliefs, their standards.
And history is just filled with these power friendships. Think about C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, pushing and challenging each other to create these legendary worlds. Or Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, constantly elevating each other's thinking. The right people will pull you up to their level.
So to wrap this section up, it really boils down to a two-part formula. Rebuild your identity by upgrading your inputs. First, through self-education, reading books, learning from the greats. And second, by consciously choosing to spend time with people who already are who you want to become.
All right, so you're rebuilding your identity, you're changing your inputs. Now you need to point all that new energy at something. That brings us to section 3, finding a singular driving cause. So often we get completely obsessed with the how. How do I start the business? How do I write the book? But the book argues that's all useless without a powerful why. Your why is the rocket fuel. There's this story about a football player named Big Mike, super talented but kind of lazy. His best friend, who was blind, tragically died. The next game, Mike played like an absolute champion. Why? Because he said it was the first game his friend ever got to see him play, from heaven. Now that is a why.
The book gives us 3 steps to turn that why into a full-blown crusade. First, you have to decide to be the one. You have to want the pressure, want the ball when the game is on the line. Second, you go all in. You marry your industry. And finally, you make it bigger than you. You turn your cause into a crusade that inspires other people to join you.
And this is the real power of having a cause. It gives you motivation that just doesn't run out. Someone who's only motivated by money, they slow down once they hit their number. But someone driven by a crusade, they never ever stop. So you've dared to dream, you've rebuilt your identity, and you've found your cause. Now for the part nobody really likes to talk about, the fight. The road to doing the impossible is paved with difficulty, and this final section is all about learning to embrace it.
We've all heard that classic line, work smarter, not harder. The book pushes back on this, hard. It says that's a false choice. The people who achieve the impossible, they do both. There's absolutely no shortcut that replaces a relentless, old-school work ethic.
I mean, the numbers here tell the whole story. Look at this. Over the last century or so, we've swapped out a massive chunk of work time for leisure time. And while that's great for relaxation, it means the people willing to put in those extra hours have a huge advantage. The formula for greatness was built on hard work, and that hasn't changed a bit.
Look, this journey is going to hurt sometimes, physically, mentally, emotionally. The book defines toughness not as avoiding that pain, but as learning how to push through it. It's the ability to give 100% even on the days you only feel like you have 50% to give.
This is the exact mindset we're talking about. It's about enduring temporary suffering for permanent reward. You know the saying, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons.
And finally, part of the fight is dealing with the critics and the rejection. I mean, look at this list of people who were told they'd never make it. The incredible thing isn't just that they proved them wrong, is that they used that doubt and that rejection as fuel for their fire. So when you put it all together, that's the blueprint. The journey starts with the courage to dare. From there, you recreate your own identity. Then you channel that new self into a driving cause. And finally, you learn to embrace the inevitable fight, seeing every challenge as just part of the adventure.
The book ends with a challenge, and that's where we'll end too. If you start looking at your life, not as a series of problems you have to solve, but as one big adventure story, it changes everything. So what's your impossible? What adventure are you gonna choose?
allappswin.com